formerly known as the B2B e-commerce tech talk. Change the name a bit. Yeah, it's new year, so new things. So we are back after a short break, and I hope you all had a great start of the new year. And I'm very much looking forward to a new set of these talks. So if you do not know me, my name is Arno. I'm the Chief Product Officer here at Sana Commerce, and the concept of these talks is very straightforward. Every month, we cover one or two agenda topics based on what's going on the market, related to B2B e-commerce, of course. You can ask me anything in the chat, of course. It's always great to help each other in the virtual room. We are using LinkedIn Live to broadcast this every first Thursday of the month. Just so keep your eyes closed on the socials, especially on LinkedIn, because we are always publishing the subject ahead before we are planning or scheduling our next episode. Don't worry if you cannot join it live. We are always recording it. The audio is being shared on the podcast channel that we have, and that is what we call B2B e-commerce integrated podcast. You can find them on Spotify and on YouTube, Google and Apple Music. We are all there. And of course with YouTube you have the video recording as well. So all the latest updates about news in the B2B tech or e-commerce and tech industry, and mostly focusing on IT leaders and how we can help them. We are interested in talking everything related to B2B e-commerce. So I'm always being joined with Emilie.
Yes.
Welcome, Emilie, again.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Emilie Dubau. I'm the Director of Customer Success for Sana Commerce. And for almost 6 years now, I've been responsible for the success of our customers. But today I'll also be your moderator. So as Arno mentioned already, you can ask questions in the chat on LinkedIn, and I'll make sure that they are asked if we have time. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be about the topic. Of course, it's better if it is, but it doesn't have to be. So feel free to drop questions there. If we can't answer them all, we'll find a way to get them answered either by covering them in a follow-up session or
direct message.
Direct message, exactly.
Cool.
And I think today is a very hot topic. And unfortunately, the start of 2023 and the year is not looking that great, right? It's very clear we are facing difficult times economically. And so that's what we want to talk about today, because the world is changing with the pandemic, with the war in Ukraine, and we see high inflation that's persisting month after month. It's getting more expensive to purchase raw materials and for you to produce your own products. So we also see global supply chain constraints, where on one hand, some people are still catching up on demand, while others forecasted too much and end up with overflowing inventory. And of course, rising interest rates. It's more expensive now to invest in growth than ever. So a lot of companies want to consolidate. So our customers, usually manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers, they are faced with the sign of an impending recession. So what does it mean? We're very careful. They are very careful with costs. They're cutting in revenues because their buyers want to take fewer risks and spend less, of course. And I think it's true for everyone, not only for our customers. So today we want to help you see how B2B e-commerce can maybe help in these difficult times. And the most obvious question, I think, and let's start with that. How can we save costs? So Arno, do you have any tips on how B2B companies can save costs with e-commerce?
Yes, of course. And first, what I want to mention is I think, it can be always very easy to say, and that's a big trend, I think, in the market as well, to say, let's just lay off some people, right? That's the easiest thing you can, although it's difficult from a human perspective, but it's in some countries the easiest thing to do. However, if I look, it's very regional specific, but it's especially looking at at Europe, or we are here broadcasting now from the Netherlands. We have still a very tense labor market in that sense. So we had already so much pain from the last year to get actually the people on board. And if you now are, for example, and we know that from our customers as well, that especially on the tech side or e-commerce side, it was very hard to get these people actually in the company and let them stay in the company. So if you now have a little bit more difficulties in terms of economic times, and you need to lay these people off, then you're back to square one, right? So I think there are smarter ways to mitigate that and to look at other aspects of the business to optimize. So let's give a couple of examples, and we also have a couple of customer stories I think to share today, which are interesting. So and as an IT guy, I like to automate stuff, and I like to empower people to do more with the time they have in a day, and making more impact is, I think, very, very important. And technology can help there, but taking that concept is a starting point. So I always ask a lot of questions then when we're talking with customers on this subject, when they say, we do not know if we can invest in B2B e-commerce. These are economic hard times. So one of the first questions I always ask is, do your sales reps, so the people that are on the road selling the goods, do they spend a lot of time in actually order intake or related tasks via traditional methods like calls and emails, etc., etc.? Because strangely enough, because I think it's strange, but strangely enough, there are still so many companies that have this. There are a lot of companies that have onboarded e-commerce or B2B e-commerce, and they say, that is our commerce channel, so most of the revenue goes through there. But we still see, I think, a pretty big group that is still doing a lot on these traditional channels, and they are most of these orders have are repeat orders, right? Because that's what we are seeing in B2B, that the sales people or reps are just visiting monthly, weekly basis, more or less placing the same kind of orders. You can automate all that, or you can empower your B2B buyers to do so if you can make that switch to digital. I think it makes your job as a sales rep also much nicer, because you can then focus on other things, for example, exploring new markets, or getting more out the relationships that you have with your B2B buyers. But of course, it's an investment to go there. But we know from the customer stories that we have and the benchmarks that we can do with them, or the business cases that we can make with them, that you can evolve there. So automating that buying process, or empowering, or we call it giving total customer convenience to your B2B buyer, is something you can do. And it sounds like a scary thing, but you can start small, for example, with a certain region or with a certain segment in your products, and then the investment doesn't have to be so big. I can already tell you, it can be, instead of that you need to hire a person or cannot hire a person, that you can say, okay, you can already start with something small in terms of B2B e-commerce. So that is one. Automate. And what are your sales reps doing? First one. Next is also focusing, and that's maybe more on the IT. If you're an IT director or an IT manager, focus on the hidden cost of if you have already B2B e-commerce running, because hidden cost, it's already in the name. It's not that obvious, and we are here to, based on feedback from customers, or what we're seeing at customers, that they're a little bit blindsided by that they do not see this overhead anymore. And because I'm then asking the question, are you sure, or do you know if your software or the solution that you're using, if that leads to errors, or do you have reporting about it or so? How many tickets do you get on order errors, or how much maintenance are you spending on running the whole thing? And just to awake them with that question, they start looking at it, and sometimes we see companies really struggling. And we also did investigation of that market research, and that they spend hours per week or even more on on fixing stuff that can be solved by technology, I would say, if you do it in a different way. So questions you can ask yourself: is your customer service team burdened with complaints and that orders went wrong? And especially in B2B, it's all about trust. So if you place an order and there is a mistake after it, or then this transition to digital will fail or will not grow. So it's really important to keep an eye on that. Are your sales teams, they are your biggest sponsor of a successful B2B e-commerce implementation. If they are not on board, your customers or B2B buyers will probably not follow. So are they frustrated, or are they super happy with the solution? Or is your tool causing a lot of downtime? Yeah, if a couple of these answers is like, yes, we see errors, or yes, we have a lot of tickets, yes, one of the teams is frustrated, or we get, then probably you have an issue in making sure that trust is there, and making sure that B2B is all about real-time transactional data and logic, which is crucial to make it successful. At least that is how we see companies succeed. And you can solve that with technology. We and also other vendors in the world that focus a little bit more on the integration part, that believe as well that real-time integration in these, especially around transactions, pricing, complex pricing, and inventory, is a must. They will know that that is a way out to help them. So to give it a little bit more numbers, and based on investigation that we have done, is that we did a lot of research last year. I interviewed around 1,000 IT leaders from different companies, not even our customers, but just IT leaders in the wholesale manufacturing distribution space. And for their reported that their IT departments were on average spending 41% of their time on maintenance issues in that sense. And that can be ranging from fixing order errors to, getting the product data or pricing on a level that it was, that the people were not complaining about it. And that is, I think, a lot of valuable IT time wasted, and that should be spent on more value add projects. So you can make your organization smarter and easier if you choose the right tools, and if you also understand these concepts, and also if you take B2B e-commerce serious and look at the hidden cost, let's say so. Freeing up time for your sales and IT team is definitely something that can help. And with Sana, e-commerce platforms that we are supplying, natively integrated with the ERP, this is one of the reasons why we started this company, and how we see our around 1,500 customers succeed. And we can also follow that success with, for example, products that we have like Sana Commerce Insights, where we can see a transition in the amount of orders that are moving from offline to online, also the amount of issues that there are there, a lot of other things, but that is for, I think, another episode. But just to give you an insight that there is another world out there. And I think it's a win-win for commercial and IT organization if you go that direction. And but last but not least, and that is the most important focus, of course, for your B2B buyer, because you will help them in supplying a better portal.
Yeah, thank you, Arno, for sharing. And indeed, when we speak to customers, the focus is not so much on laying off people, but really, how can I use my people to make the best out of their time and avoid mistakes, avoid manual work. Sana can definitely help with that. And I actually have 2 customer examples that also support that. And you know them, Willem Pretorius from Montego Pet, because he presented at one of our events recently. And with their legacy e-commerce system, they had a lot of maintenance because it was not integrated natively with their ERP systems. Doing price updates, for example, was very laborious process. And they had to involve multiple people at the company. That's a high operational cost. So that's not great. And Sana helped them solve that problem. And also, we have another customer, Vera Bradley. They were one of our winners of the B2B e-commerce awards from last year, 2022. And thanks to the integration with the ERP, they were able to reduce the number of inbound emails with 96% for their sales and customer service. So that's a great way to reduce workload and then repurpose these resources. So yeah, that's definitely a game changer. So let's go to the next questions. Well, just to summarize, B2B organization, they can save on labor costs with B2B e-commerce solutions that are natively integrated with the ERP. Not to fire people, but just utilize their time better. But aside from cost optimizations, because that's also, of course, one thing you need to do in a recession, but you still want to probably make some revenue. So what else can a B2B company do in this time?
Yeah, sure. Maybe before answering the question, just let the people know that if you have some extra additional things, you can let them know, or questions, you can always share them in the chat. It's great that we have more than 50 people joining, so that is awesome. See some people from SAP, some customers, but also some prospects and B2B enthusiasts, B2B e-commerce enthusiasts are there as well. So welcome again. Very excited that you're all there. Having said that, about the question is you can do a lot more activities to than just cost optimization. One is focusing on your loyal customers, because one thing that you do not want in economic downtimes is that you lose or that these customers churn, especially these loyal customers. So what you need to do then is, of course, give them a place, a platform that they are happy about, but maybe more importantly, also following them closely. So build in the tools that you can really check what's going on. Today we had actually our partner event here in the office in Rotterdam, and we also showed to our partners, our implementation partners, how Sana Commerce Insights can help in this scenario. And I think it was really resonating in the room when we were sharing a demo that you can closely see, or can in the reporting that we are supplying, like a notification of, this customer was normally ordering on average every 20 days, but now didn't do that for a couple of months. So that should be a trigger to get connected to this customer and not just leave them hanging, because probably our assumption is, or that's our advice based on the things that we have learned, is that there is something wrong, right, with this customer. So definitely these are then the ones to focus on. And it's just automation, just data that can help you there. Just a small sidestep on Sana Commerce Insight, we are combining ERP data with data from data from SAP or Dynamics about online and offline order behavior, together with the things that we are gathering in Sana, like click behavior, but also shopping carts or order templates that you're creating. All that things are being logged, and of course, sounds like really scary that we're gathering everything, but we are following all the privacy rules, of course, which apply. But while doing so, we can do really cool stuff. We can benchmark and see if something goes is different than what we normally see with customers, and we can definitely help our customers, the store owners, in advice. And I think this loyal customer example is a good one. If you're not a Sana customer, but on any other platform, I think it is really worth the investment to combine that online and offline data, and also look at, for example, order frequencies or and so on. These are easy catch, right? It doesn't have to be technically the most difficult thing, maybe, but I think it's worth a lot. Focus on your loyal customers is definitely something that you need to do in this time. Another thing is that you might want to focus on is what we call price sensitivity. So in certain times, you may have to change pricing last minute to keep up the margins, especially if you have a frequent changing cost factor on the bulk materials that you use for production, for example. So make sure that this is an as automated process as possible, because otherwise it will be very labor intensive, or if you're not automating or changing it, it can be a big risk that you are selling the goods with not the correct margins. We have seen companies doing that as well. And sometimes it can be like cents, but on a B2B scales, it can easily turn out in hundred thousands of dollars or euros, you know, so be aware of that. So what you can do is make sure that these changes are end-to-end automated. So if you have some purchasing costs that they in the ERP most of the time, or if you have other pricing engines, that they are being updated there as frequent as needed, and that it automatically is calculated in the sell price and per customer most of the time. That is personalized in that sense, based on contracts and so on. It's really B2B. But if you automate all of that, then it will save you so much additional manual labor. It will reduce any errors. It will eliminate them, because machines or computers can do that better than humans. We all know that, you know, copying files or Excel fields is always, you always miss one. At least I do. So better let somebody, let something do it that is around automation. And last but not least, to repeat once more, is that you will have better margin or better balance. So inventory, transparency. So changing if you have issues with production or with supplies, then it's even more important. It helps also with the loyal customers, but even more important to show exactly what you have, what inventories you have and what not, because nothing is so frustrated that if you are purchasing something as a B2B buyer, but the inventory was not up to date, so you get an email or a call saying, sorry, we could not deliver that, right? There goes your loyal customer. So also there is the automation that is definitely necessary. So make sure that you are, from whatever system it's coming from, most of the time for our customers coming from the ERP systems that we are supporting, that you are integrated with that and that it's being reflected in real time. And that there cannot be any mistakes there. If it is not, if there is no inventory, then you can still service your B2B buyer, for example, by using logic which is in these systems, like calculating estimated shipping dates, so that you use the intelligence which is in the system to say, hey, it's not in stock now, but it will be in a week or in 2 weeks. Based on how you configure it or how you deal with Sana, at least on how we deal with it, is that you can then also allow or not allow the order to be already taken. Then it will be more like a back order. But this transparency is, I think, key in preserving that customer relationship. And there are 2 more samples, so stay with me. The other one is simplifying order returns, or RMA. And in certain times you want to ensure that your your user interaction is seamlessly, to not generate a lot of complaints or a lot of calls to your customer service department. So if you automate that all in your platform, in your B2B e-commerce portal or store, then that will help you save or reduce a lot of these calls, and you will make the B2B buyers happier, because make it as easy as possible to return it and automate it as much as possible, right? It is like with B2C, it's also happening quite a lot in B2B, and then on bulk, of course. When something is damaged, you do not want to give a lot of friction. You want to make it easy and really smooth. Then you keep the customer, keep the B2B buyer, and keep that relationship. Last part is to make payments very, very easy and simple. A lot of B2B portals can be still a little bit clunky in that sense. If we see some older platforms that customers were using and migrating to us, yes, you can always say, okay, pay on invoice, or and that is still one of the most used ways of or on account, the most used payment methods, let's say, so B2B. However, you want to explore new markets, and online payments are also getting more and more popular. But yeah, if you need to fill in your credit card details every time, or you need to select the exact payment method that you want to use, or you need to search it from a big list, because most B2B players, at least in our customer base, are international. Yeah, it is not nice that you end up with a big list and that you need to select as a B2B buyer your payment method that is applicable to you, right? Because as we all know, credit card is maybe international, but all the different bank systems, or like in the Netherlands we have Ideal, but in Germany you have Sofort, in the US you have HEH. So there are also really country or region specific ones, and you do not want to let your B2B buyer just select, oh, maybe I need this. Now that should be filtered based on region and actually on the profile of the B2B buyer. So on language, currency, and on location. So we are doing that with Sana and Sana Pay, one of the products we are supplying out of the box. But on the other end, from a UI perspective, just making this is one thing, but on the other end, just getting the money flowing, in this uncertain time is also another thing. So paying invoices that are out there online, with online payment methods, that you give that ability, or that you can let customers prepay a certain order just to get the order in. All these kind of things are, I think, important to give to your B2B buyers these options to make it convenient, because if you not do so, then or they will call, or they will go away. So yes, there is much more you can do than just cost optimization. Of course, these will lead probably to cost optimization to certain gains, but focus on this loyal B2B buys, as I think my conclusion, and make sure that you have this excellent online buying experience. We do that with ERP integrated e-commerce, as we call it. But if you are using another vendor, then just invest in these areas, I would say.
Yeah, thank you, Arno. And I like what you say, because in the end, what I see is quite often when we think of focusing on loyal customers, we think we need to make them happy, but actually we mostly need to make it easy to do business.
Yeah.
And that's what I see in the topics you mentioned. It's easy for them to see the right price. It's easy for them to see the stocks and inventory, to return wrong orders, or to pay. So I think if everyone had that shift in their mindset, it's about making it easy. And even more in these uncertain times. So I have one last question.
Okay.
For today.
Yeah.
Because this is a talk for IT leaders. So what can IT leaders and IT teams do to insulate their organization from economic impact?
Yeah, a couple of things you can do there as well. Once again, so have a look at your downtime of your current store. If you're not measuring that, or your supplier is not measuring that, I think it is worth to do it, because we see when making integrations, it can get complex, and it can also be it's a specialism. It's something difficult to do, and if you're not measuring then the downtime, then you say, hey, you're not really knowing if your store is running that good. And based on investigation, on average, this costs B2B companies around $180,000 per month on the larger scales, right? So that can be huge, especially downtime that is in the business hours, obviously. And if you're not measuring it and customers are starting calling, then I think you're not proactively helping there. And once again, we know all how hard it is to keep these stores running. See it as something that is part of your company's process, and not something, we also have a store running and now we are not monitoring it. But now take it serious, and that is And this is part of it, right? 37%, and that's another point, of IT budgets are spent on integrations and keeping that running and up and running. So integrating a B2B e-commerce platform inside their IT landscape. So yeah, why not go for a solution that give these things out of the box? And it is not only about just selecting a tool that has an API, application programming interface, so that you can let the developers wire these things together and it is solved. Now I think it goes much further. You need to maintain these APIs. Both systems are changing continuously. So yeah, you need to invest, or you need to trust a partner that they invest in a time to keep this connection going, right? It is not just a one-time thing, unfortunately. Although you would say it's a contract that you can have for many years. Yeah, theoretically it should be, but in practical ways, what we see, it's not the case at all. So that's why we have dedicated teams focus on SAP, focus on Dynamics. They follow every change already when the early versions are being shared with us before it even hits market to the larger customer groups. So we can adjust our solution to it so that they will not run into errors. And I think then we always 5 or 10 steps ahead of companies that are not focusing on it, because they will see the changes when they are published to live, and then there was an API change or some logic behind an API change, which leads to some errors or discomfort. So take that serious and do not underestimate the integrations. And become a more from a process side of things, become a business navigator. So help your teams, your sales teams, in prioritizing B2B e-commerce as instead of just being a ticket solver and try to solve one ticket after another and get burdened by it. But try to lead the business with all these insights you're getting from this talk. So other thought leaders in the B2B e-commerce space, that will lead you to implement smarter solutions, or to make the whole your whole IT landscape, I think, more resilient and helps to drive the business forward instead of backward.
Thank you, Arno. I was just checking, we don't have any questions on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So I propose we wrap this up.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you. I hope all the tips that Arno shared will help you navigate these dark waters. But if you want more tips, we have Arno's podcast, and we also share a lot of content on LinkedIn. So don't hesitate to follow us there.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Thanks for joining, and see you next month. So see you next time.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
See you.